Who is Brian Duperreault?
Brian Duperreault is a very well-respected leader. One analyst this morning said he's the white knight coming into...
I read that same
right.
note. Buddy said there might be some ashes on the white knight.
So the thing about it is people are wondering if AIG will bring another reserve charge. He said today that the reserves look reasonable. They also wonder, AIG has had this very aggressive capital return plan. People are wondering if that will continue because Duperreault said he's coming in to invest. So he's using excess capital to invest in technology, to invest in expansion. Unlike Carl Icahn, who initially said in 2015 he wanted a breakup of the full insurer, Duperreault now says he's not there to break it up.
What is morale like at the company? This is a company that has come through so much, so many ups and downs, so many sort of board fights. Who will Brian Duperreault sort of be able to lift morale?
That's actually one thing people are asking. Will he come in and bring in new leadership? So when he came in before, now there's been more than two rounds of leadership changes. AIG paid more than $20 million worth of severance packages to many of its former executives. People who were there leading the ship before, they're all gone. There's almost nobody there from 2005 anymore leading in the leadership ranks. And now they have to count on, it's going to really depend on who he brings on next after him.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's now, you know, somebody else who comes from a big insurance background. He was CEO of ACE, chairman of ACE, CEO of Marsh McLennan, Hamilton even, which is a big name in the AIG history even. So, what, I mean, maybe it's natural that he wouldn't want to break it up, but would it be better for the insurer to break it up? Isn't it at risk of being, you know, a systemically influential company still?
Right, it certainly is still what we call a SIFI, right? It's so-called too big to fail after the financial crisis. However, there are capital considerations to be accounted for. I mean, they are in more than 80 countries right now. They have diversification, so every time that the consumer or the commercial operation kind of falters, they have a life and retirement business that's doing pretty well. So breaking it up, they do have arguments to keep it together. A lot of it has to do with rating agencies and tax benefits. So, but we'll see in a couple of years, if he can't turn these underwriting results around, that will still be a question again.
Well, I was going to ask you what Carl Icahn had to say about Duperreault's hire, but let's actually have a look at his tweets from this morning. He said he is very pleased the AIG board is finally making some of the much needed changes we've been advocating the last 18 months. It is extremely gratifying that the activist strategy continues to create value for all shareholders. A very humble couple of tweets there, but you know, ultimately, is this a good thing for the other shareholders, not only Carl Icahn?
Right. The other thing that's interesting about it, Brian Duperreault has a lot of friends in the capital markets, right? I mean, we quoted Sandy Weil, for example, in our story this morning. Sandy was on the board of Hamilton. Tom Hill was actually also, Blackstone's Tom Hill's also on the board of Hamilton. So he definitely is a pretty shareholder-friendly, investor-friendly CEO. But again, it all depends on whether he can turn around the insurer. While the S&P's been rallying, the stock has been down this year. So he's really going to need to show that he can make changes there.
So holding it all together, this insurer, isn't that sort of the original strategy that was sort of advocated at the very beginning after the bailout?
There certainly are a lot of similarities between what the old strategy was and the new one is. The board said they wanted to continue along with the strategy that Peter Hancock, the prior CEO, had. So, for example, investing in technology, that hasn't proven to be so easy. Now they've actually asked Two Sigma, the hedge fund, to come in and help with a lot of that data underwriting and see if they can really improve those, but nobody really knows what that really means yet.
Has Carl Icahn or any other activist proposed what should be next?
Yeah, I mean, John Paulson used to also be on the board of AIG. He agreed this year to step down. And so they all wanted a split up. Paulson's firm, actually, they scaled back their request a little bit and said, you know, you don't need to break the whole thing up. Just start to sell some assets so that you can focus on this core commercial operation that, you know, works with everyone from WeChat to United Airlines and most of the world's most wealthy, actually.
How, speaking of wealthy, how expensive is it bringing Brian Duperreault on board?
23% more expensive than Peter Hancock.
Oh, you had an answer already for me there, Sonali.
Right. I mean, AIG CEOs have been paid at a discount relative to peers for very many years, and one of the claims we made early on is it's going to be expensive to bring on a new CEO. To bring on Brian Duperreault, they took a stake in Hamilton US, which is about $110 million. Then they paid Brian another $12 million to get him out of his non-compete, and about $40 million over the next few years to Hamilton to waive that non-compete agreement, plus another $16 million in an annual pay package.
Wow. All right. Well, what does Peter Hancock do now?
We will see. He said he would step down once a new replacement was found, but you know, he's had a wide range of experience in insurance and banking. He was a JP Morgan executive. So
will history judge him well for his part in AIG?
We will see. We will see.